So last time we were doing chapter 17 and we did the verses that dealt with sacrifice, that is yajna. So we discussed yajna in Rajagun, yajna in Tamagun and yajna in Sattvagun. We also discussed the intrinsic meaning of yajna and how in the Bhagawad-Geeta Krishna takes yajna from a mere fire ritual to many other forms of yajna, allowing us to understand that yajna or sacrifice is a technology for transcending the ego self. And ultimately he concludes by asking you to make your whole life a yajna. Today we are going to consider what Krishna says in the Bhagavad-Geeta about tapaha or tapasya. Tapasya, if you want to define it, austerity. Don't confuse this with financial austerity, economic austerity and other forms of austerity. I'm talking only about spiritual austerity. Spiritual austerity is regulating your otherwise unlimited sense gratification. So you're regulating your otherwise unlimited sense gratification for the purpose of redirecting that energy, that time, towards devotion to God. So you could do so many things in your spare time that would entertain your senses. But when you regulate your time and your energy, regulating it rather than allowing it to be unrestricted, so that your time, your energy can be redirected towards devotion to God. This is truly what austerity is. Austerity is typical in most religious philosophies, and most spiritual paths also have various austerities to be performed. This is because we have three pillars of reality. The first pillar deals with our senses. The second pillar deals with our inner metabolic system, our autonomic nervous system, which is regulated by our diet. And lastly, you have the last pillar of reality, which is your social interactions with those others around you. When these three pillars of reality are attacked, then you enter into an altered state of consciousness. For example, you will see other prophets in other religions have gone into the desert and for 40 days fasted. That is caloric restriction, social isolation, and they've usually done this in a dark cave, which means sensorial deprivation. So these are the three mechanisms, these three pillars of reality which are affected when you have caloric restriction, sensorial deprivation, and social isolation. Some of you who have been to meditation camps will notice that a good deal of these three are present in all the successful meditation camps, because it flings you, literally brings you into an altered state of consciousness. The world is so attractive and the objects of the senses are so attractive that it is very difficult to keep yourself from being dragged into this. Therefore, especially on the path where it is knowledge, on the path of knowledge, you will see that there are specific instructions in the second chapter of the Bhagavad-Geeta. And what are these specific things given in the Bhagavad-Gita second chapter? Krishna compares the Sthita Prajna to a tortoise, to a turtle, which can withdraw its four limbs and its head into its shell. And in 2.58, Krishna says, Yada samharate chayam kurmangani sarvashah indriyani indriyarthebhyas tasya prajna pratishtita. One who is able to withdraw his senses from his sense objects, just as the tortoise withdraws its limbs within its shell, is understood to be truly situated in knowledge. So, the one who is situated in knowledge, the Sthita Prajna, withdraws his sense organs into himself and does not allow these sense organs to come in contact with the sense objects. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasapyasya param drishtva nivartate. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, but the taste for sense enjoyments or sense objects still remains. But when he ceases such engagements with the sense objects, he experiences a higher taste. And when he experiences the higher taste, he becomes fixed in consciousness. Yatato hi api kaunteya purushasya vipaschita indriyani pramatani haranti prasabam mana. So Krishna explains in the text 60 of chapter 2, the senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. So therefore, it is very common to find people engaging in austerities, withdrawing their sense organs from the sense objects, and finding the pull of the sense objects too strong. So what happens to them? In the Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 3, text 6, Krishna explains, Karma indriyani samyamya ya aste manasa smaran indriya arthan vimudatma karta mityachara sa uchyate. So those who restrain the senses and the organs of action, but whose mind dwells on the sense objects, certainly deludes himself and he is called a hypocrite. So externally you appear to have given up the world, but internally the desire remains, because you're thinking of those objects of the senses again and again. Such a person is called the hypocrite. And you will find many like that within the spiritual endeavor, people who make spiritual endeavors. They become hypocrites because externally they give something up, but internally they keep on thinking of them until they have a fall down. And this is the classical behavior of a hypocrite. But Krishna says, Yastva indriyani manasa niyamya arabhyate arjuna karma indriye karma yogam asaktasa vishishyate. In chapter 3, text 7, Krishna explains, But he who controls the senses by the mind and engages his active organs in works of devotion without any attachment is by superior. So Krishna explains that the secret is, what is the secret? The secret is engage those senses in working. And when you engage your senses in working, your mind will not wander to objects of sense gratification. This is the magic of Karma Yoga versus Karma Sannyas. Take 3.41, Krishna says, Tasmatvam indriyani adau niyamya bharatar sabha papmanam prajahi enam jnana vijnana nashanam. Therefore, O Arjuna, O best of Bharatas, in the very beginning, curb this symbol of lust or sin by regulating the senses and slay this destroyer of knowledge and realization. So having understood this, right, having understood this, we should now begin to understand what bhakti is all about. Bhakti has a very different philosophy. It has a different philosophy from the philosophy of Jnana or Siddha Prajna. Bhakti says that the gratification of the senses, the legitimate gratification of the senses, is not a sin if it does not make you forget God. So pleasuring the senses is not sinful as long as it doesn't make you forget God. When your sense organs are lost in the sense objects to the extent of forgetting God, then that is a sin. But when you are able to enjoy the sense objects through the senses while remembering God, this is then considered to be bhakti. We are schooled in this by Uddhava. Uddhava in the Bhagavad-Geeta of the Srimad Bhagavatam very clearly says, Tvai upabhukta shraga gandha vasho alankara cha archita uchishta bhojino dasas tava mayam jayemahi. Uddhava, of course, is a God-realized soul. He has lost his ego self completely. But he is talking about how one can protect oneself from forgetting God by being absorbed in the pleasures of the senses. He says simply by decorating ourselves with garlands, fragrant oils, clothes and ornaments which Krishna you have already enjoyed because we've offered them to you, and eating the remnants of your meals because we have offered those meals to you, and then we partake of the remnants, we thus conquer your illusory energy. See, the beauty of bhakti is that it is not against the legitimate sense gratification that is your due. Therefore, you are free from becoming tapodipita. Tapodipita means when you perform restrictions of the senses, then you become inflamed with anger like Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni was known for performing great austerities, great tapasya. But that great tapasya made him inflamed. He was ready to lose his temper at every opportunity, and he was ready to curse other people. Whereas Ambarish Maharaj, who triumphed over Durvas Muni, lived the life of a king. He had garlands, fragrant oils, clothes, ornaments, jewelry, and eating delicious prasad. Through this, by remembering God, we, being absorbed in Him, even while we pleasure the senses, we are protected from Maya. So this is the essence of the change between Hatha Yoga, which demands great amount of austerities, lying on a bed of nails, standing in one position for months and years together. On the other hand, you have austerities which are performed by people on Jnana Marg. I mean, those who are not pseudo Jnana Marg, but those who are genuinely following Jnana Marg by full-time engaging in Jnana Marg and having renounced the world. They have to perform certain austerities as sannyasis. But this is not the path of bhakti. And therefore, from the Bhagavad-Geeta, we get the instruction on how one can regulate the senses, enjoying your legitimate sense gratification, even while you remember God. When Krishna talks about austerities, you will see that he mentions in two areas what he really doesn't want. Ashastra vihitam ghoram tapyante ya tapojanaha damba ahankara samyukta kama raga balanvitaha karshanta sarirastam bhuta gramam achetasa mam chaivanti sharirastam tan vidya asura nishchayan. He condemns severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, which are performed out of pride, egoism, lust, attachment. Those that are impelled by passion, and those who torture their bodily organs as well. That means rajasic and tamasic, tapasya. In 17.19, Krishna says, Mooda grahene atmano yat pidaya kriyate tapah parasyot sadanartham va tat tamasam udaritam. So Krishna points out that those penances and austerities which are performed foolishly by means of obstinate self-torture to destroy or injure others as well as oneself are said to be in the mode of tamagun. Similarly, satkaramana pujartham tapo dambena chaivayat kriyate tad iha proktam rajasam chalam adruvam. Those ostentatious penances and austerities which are performed in order to gain respect, honor and reverence are said to be in the mode of passion. They are neither stable nor permanent. In tamaguni tapasya, you have people from other religions and faiths starving their children by encouraging them to fast well beyond what is healthy and causing them even to lose their lives. Oh, my son has fasted 30 days. Yes, and the one whose son fasted 31 days has died. So that is tapasya in tamagun. In Rajagun, it has when you perform tapasya, which you like to flaunt. Having eaten meat all your life, eating products of violence all your life, you go around beating your breast and showing off to your family members and extended family members and neighbors and relatives. Oh, I have given up eating meat. Oh, I have given up eating this. Oh, I have given up drinking this. It's an austerity which you're doing. But this austerity is for your health. Instead, you are using it to aggrandize your ego. So this is austerity which is performed in Rajagun, and one must never engage in Rajaguni tapasya either. In 17.17, Krishna says, Shraddhaya paraya taptam tapastatri vidham narah afalakankshabir yuktah satvikam parichakshate. He is now explaining the three tapasyas which is practiced by men not to benefit themselves materially, but to do it to please God. And what are these tapasyas which Krishna asks? And Krishna asks for tapasyas which are very simple. And please note that these tapasyas are tapasya of the body, tapasya of speech, and then tapasya of the mind. So it's very important to understand that we are going from outward to inward. We start with tapasyas of the body, we progress to tapasyas of the speech, and finally we move on to tapasya of the mind. If you are struggling to control your mind, while your speech is unchecked, if you are struggling to control your mind while your behavior is unchecked, it is very difficult to control the mind. But if you have already controlled the body, if you have controlled your speech, then finally to control your mind becomes much easier. So in austerity of the body, Krishna explains that Deva Dvijya Guru Pragna Pujanam Saucham Arjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsa Cha Shariram Tapa Uchyate. You are always ready to offer worship, to bow your body, to touch the feet of people who are elder, people who are more honorable, people who are spiritual. So the gods, the devas, the dvijas, those who have undergone a second birth, those who have got a teacher or a guru, you should be able and willing to touch their feet and to worship them. This is the austerity of the body. The body should be both clean outside and internally you should act without ego in a transparent manner. You should act without desire and you should be non-violent towards others around you. So, Deva Dvijya Guru Pragna Pujanam Saucham Arjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsa Cha Shariram Tapah Uchyate. This is the austerity of the body. When you are doing austerity of the body, you progress to performing austerity of speech. And austerity of speech is Anudvega Karam Vakyam Satyam Priyam Hitam Chayat Swadhyaya Bhashanam Chaiva Vanmayam Tapa Uchyate. Speak the truth, speak that truth which is beneficial, and never speak anything that disturbs the minds of other people, that offends. And also, please understand that When you speak, always quote Shastra. You quote the Shastra when you speak, so that you are not giving your personal egoistic opinion, but you are giving the opinion of authority. This may also be in your profession. It may also be at your workplace. Don't try to give your egoistic opinion. I think this is the way to behave. Rather, quote the Shastra and say, this is what this Shastra says. This is how we have to do it. So never speak anything that disturbs another person's mind. Anudvega karam vakyam. Speak the truth. Speak that which is pleasant and speak that which is beneficial. This is austerity of speech. And when you are able to practice the austerity of body and austerity of speech, you will then progress to attaining austerity of the mind. Mana prasadat saumyatvam maunam atma vinigraha bhava samshuddhir itetat tapa manasam uchyate. Serenity, simplicity, gravity, self-control, purity of thought, a silent mind, these are all called tapasya of the mind. So these are the tapasyas of the of the body, of speech and of the mind. These are the austerities that one performs, and which Krishna says is performed not for your material benefit, but it is performed for the sake of pleasing God. So with this I'll conclude today's session on tapasya. If there are any questions, please feel free
Thank
to.
you so much, Shantuji, for today's session. My first question is, how can Krishna's concept of austerity be applied in today's fast-paced, materialistic world?
Krishna's concept of austerity means that Krishna never tells you to go into fasting, into torturing your body, or doing anything like that. All that has come later, much later, in the Puranas. But if you go in the Bhagavad-Geeta clearly Krishna says, Yukta hara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. This is not meant for those who eat too much or eat too little, for those who sleep too much or sleep too little. But those who are moderate in their eating, sleeping and recreation, these people can mitigate all sufferings by following the system of yoga. So Krishna asks for moderation in all things. He doesn't ask for extremes, and he has condemned people who go to extremes of austerity. As far as austerity, which Krishna demands in 17th chapter, is concerned, it is wonderful when you see people who are respectful, whose speech is controlled, and whose mind is silent. These are the austerities that one should seek to cultivate. So, what Krishna wants is that whatever you do, you should do it for him. Yat karoshi yadashnasi, yat juhosi dadasi, yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushyam adarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever charities, whatever austerities you perform, do it for me. So the austerities demand that you be respectful to others. You don't speak anything that disturbs other people's minds. And you remain mentally content and peaceful. These are the austerities that Krishna asks for. When you are engaging in your sense gratification, which is legitimate, like you're eating your food, your lunch, Under such circumstances, you offer it to Krishna with love and devotion. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo mad bhakta prachati tad ham bhakte uparitam ashnami pratatmana. If you offer me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit and water, I accept it. And
Thank
then, having offered it, then you consume it. And you do this with all other pleasures in your life. When you buy a new piece of jewelry, first put it around Krishna's neck. Have a small picture or have a murti of Krishna and put that jewelry around Krishna. So whether you eat something or whether you enjoy a perfume which you first spray on the deity, or whether you drape your clothes before Krishna as an offering before wearing them, you do it in a manner so that whenever you're enjoying that object of the senses, you will surely remember Krishna and you will be protected from Maya.
Thank you so much for today's lovely session, Shantanuji. It was quite enlightening. And to all our viewers, if you liked it too, then don't forget to share it with your loved ones. Also, stay tuned as we meet again on next Thursday at 8 a.m. for yet another session on the Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna.
Hari Om, Jai Shri Krishna, Hare Krishna.